All right, so let's build a menu using React. As usual, what I got so far is nothing. Yeah, it's just a hello app message in the middle of the screen. So probably, yeah, I got my app.js. You see there is literally nothing on it. So the very first thing I would like to do is to create a button. The button will represent the burger menu. So you know that type of toggle button. When you click on it, the menu is open. When you click again, the menu is closed. Yeah, on and off, on and off. It's like a switch. That's the idea. Does anybody guys remember how to deal with hooks? Because that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to create a hook to toggle the state from on to on and off, on and off, on and off all the time. So does anybody remember, based on what you learned last Thursday, how to create a hook with React? Yeah, I got the function here. So I can create the function. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. That's a good idea. So let's create the menu function, and then let's just bind it. Yep. But now the idea is, as part of the menu function, as I think Vinay you said. So now I'm going to have a button, right? So that button will effectively toggle the menu on and off eventually, right? So let me call the button menu. Obviously, at the moment, if I click on the button, let me zoom it a bit. So if I click on the menu button, nothing happens. First of all, I don't even have any menu, right? I don't have any menu. I don't have any links. Imagine that you're building your portfolio. You got your homepage, projects, skills, contact, about, whatever. You're building your portfolio and you want to add some links. But before adding the links, I want to hold a state. So the state will tell me whether the menu should be displayed or not. Yeah. So I want to display somewhere menu open, yes, menu open, no, menu open, yes, menu open, no. Yeah, depending on how many times I click on the menu button. So does anybody remember how to set up a state using hooks in React? Correct, that's brilliant, Vinay. Yes, use state. So we have to import use state. Oops, use state, not states, obviously. Use state, yeah. And now the idea was to create a variable. If you think, guys, I'm speaking Chinese, please watch the workshop that Esteban recorded on Thursday. Yeah, because otherwise we're going to consume the time of this workshop just repeating ourselves. So now, based on what Esteban explained on Thursday, we can define a variable. So let's try to think about a valid variable name, guys, like visible, if you want, and then set visible equals use state false. So this is the syntax we have to deal with in order to create a variable called visible. So whenever we click on the button, we will change the value from false to true, and then from true to false, and vice versa. So do you know, guys, how to bind with the click event? Obviously, I want to listen on any click triggered by the user. So do you know how to capture the click event by the user in React? Fantastic. On click, how is that written? Vinay is all in. Fantastic. Brilliant. Brilliant. Lovely done. On click with camel or with big C. Yeah, this is camel case, as Vinay already suggested. And now, if you remember the syntax, yeah, we did something like that. Yeah, so we call a function, and then we call the set visible. So if I want to change the value, so can I pass value true, for instance? Will that make any sense? Can you tell me what will, from a user point of view, what will be the consequence eventually of setting the value of the variable to true as soon as I click on it by the first time? Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Imagine, guys, that you're moving to a new home, and then you call the electrician because you need some basic, lighting, right, in your living room or your bedroom, whatever. And once the electrician leaves, says, all right, so now you got light, but there is an issue. Once you switch the lights on, you cannot you cannot switch them off, right? Which doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you switch the lights on, eventually you want to switch them off as well. Otherwise, that's completely stupid, right? But anyway, before going that far, let's prototype. Let's see if at least we can switch the lights on. To do that, in React, we can do the following, guys. We can use curly braces. Remember, that's very important. We must use curly braces on the HTML bit whenever we want to run JavaScript code, a JavaScript expression inside of HTML. So now I can set up my condition. Do you remember, guys, the ternary operator? Did you came across the ternary operator doing training on the Codere platform? The ternary operator. So in JavaScript, you can have an if-else. So for instance, if I'm just making this example up, right? So if my age is above 18, or at least 18 years old, I can do return, yes, you can buy alcohol, and then else return, sorry, not allow, whatever. Yeah. So this is a basic if-else. It's pretty simple, right? If a given condition is satisfied, then display something. Else, display something else. So in JavaScript, we can rephrase that logic in the following way. So the line I'm going to write now, line number 14, is equivalent to these 5 lines of code. Just pay attention to the syntax, guys. Return age greater equal to 18, then just get used to this syntax, guys. So with question mark, we specify then what? Then yes, you can buy alcohol. And look at the else character. It's a colon. Sorry, not allowed. Yeah. So that line of code, 14, is equivalent to these 5 lines of code. So which coding style do you prefer? Do you prefer the classic if-else statement, or do you prefer the ternary approach, and why? The ternary, man. Why? I agree with you, man. I agree with you that regarding this particular example, if I have to write it, I will use a ternary. However, be careful with the ternary, because it doesn't scale well. In other words, imagine that our expression is slightly more complicated. For instance, else if I mean, ignore, guys, please ignore the semantics of the exercise. Yeah, the semantics are a bit stupid. So if you're not above 18 but you are greater than 15, return, please show your ID. I don't know. Again, guys, don't pay attention to the semantics of the exercise. And then else, you got my point. I'm trying to complicate a bit the structure. Yeah? You got if I'm above 18, at least 18 years old, display something. If I'm not above 18 years old, but I look like I'm about 15, then you ask the ID of the customer. And then if you look below 15 years old, you don't even ask for the ID. You said, hey, you are not allowed to buy alcohol, cigarettes, or whatever. Yeah. So can we rebuild this expression using the ternary? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So what we will do is something like that. That's equivalent, still equivalent. But now, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the classic if-else, or do you prefer the ternary? And why? Is man's approach still valid? Is that line still more readable than that one piece of code? Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Binay. So if your expression is very simple, yeah, I think the ternary operator works like a charm. However, once again, I mean, look, this is not particularly complicated. If else, yeah, we got free conditions, free routes, free paths, and in that particular case, that ternary operator is already a big mess. If you are wondering, yes, we can break it in different lines, and that may help a bit. It may help a bit, but eventually, it's just a matter of time and complexity that the ternary operator won't work. So which one should you use? Once again, that's up to you. Because at the end of the day, readability is something a bit personal. Yeah, it's something a bit personal. If your algorithm is complex enough, for sure, a classic if-else bunch of expressions will work better. If you are trying to deal with A/B, yeah, if something, then do something else, hopefully the ternary operator should be okay. And that's what I want to test now. Look, I'm using curly braces, and now let's see if the ternary operator is readable enough. So can I do if visible, then the menu is visible, else the menu is hidden. What do you think, guys? Is that expression readable enough? I think it's okay. Yeah, once again, that's personal. You may not find it readable enough, but because I got only two states, on and off, true and false, yes or no, I think the ternary operator works quite well here. All right, so let's see what happened. Look, the menu is hidden. That's the default state when I refresh the page. Fantastic. But if I click again, boom, you see, now the menu is visible. What will happen if I click again, second time on the menu button? Will the menu, in theory, be hidden or not? That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Look, it doesn't matter how many times I click on the button. The menu remains visible because that expression is not fully correct. So can anybody tell me, please, how can I rephrase that expression so the state of the visible variable changes from true to false and vice versa? Fantastic. I love that. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Look at how simple it is with JavaScript. You see, we are negating the condition. That means if is visible was false, by default, it becomes true. And if it's true, we negate true, and that's false, and vice versa. You see, that's it. So by adding that exclamation mark as a prefix of the visible expression, look, now that's perfect. You see, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. So now the state changes every time I click on the button. You have any questions, guys? No, that's not that complicated, right? However, we don't want to display a message. We don't want to display the menu is visible or the menu is hidden. What we want to do is we want to display a proper menu. So let's do that, guys. Let's do that. Of course, instead of returning a string, because we are dealing with React, we can return some HTML, and that's what I would like to do now. Look, if the menu is visible, then return what? I don't know. Then some sort of menu. Else, well, for now, I don't care, right? I mean, if the menu is hidden, I don't want to display anything, right? If the menu is hidden, it's hidden, right? So let's display an empty div for now. But now, that's the tricky part. If the menu is visible, let's display some links. I mean, that we're building our portfolio. So we got the home link, we got projects, we got skills, and maybe contact, yeah? For instance. So then what? Well, By default, there is nothing on it. When I click on the menu, you see, it displays. So then if we were using a proper navigation system, as part of CodeFlix, you definitely deal with navigation starting from task number 13. So you can imagine that we could create some links and redirect the control of our application to different URLs, to different pages. Yeah? But for now, that works. However, even though that looks okay or starts looking okay, what happened if, look, on my main app component, I got some text, right? Like, welcome to my portfolio. And then, I don't know, some silly text, yeah? So like, my name is Donald, and I think I got COVID under control, right? Whatever. Once again, guys, ignore the semantics. Too many hours at home today, right? Actually. So yeah, imagine that this is the portfolio of a random person. Look at the problem. If I click on the menu, you see, it's moving my content down. That's not what I want, right? Let's try on mobile. You know that with your web browser, you can enable DevTools by doing right click anywhere on the screen, and then clicking on selecting the inspect option. So now, once we got DevTools, if you click on that tiny icon here on top, the button says toggle device toolbar. When you click on it, you can get some sort of feeling about how your app will look like on a given device. Yeah? So imagine that this is my iPhone device. So you see, you don't really want to do that. You don't really want to move your content whenever the user expands the menu. So let's talk about CSS. First of all, I'm going to add a class name to the menu. So let me call it menu items, for instance. Yeah, so this is my class name. So now on my CSS, I will add, I will refer to that main component, yeah, to that menu items component. So can anyone tell me if I want to style this box, how should I refer to it on my CSS? Yes, how do I do that? Correct, dot menu hyphen items, yeah? So with the dot, remember guys, we can refer to any HTML element with that particular class name. So now, I want the menu to float around the screen, maybe on the right-hand side. So how can we bring floating elements in CSS? Okay, so write what? Okay, so let's see what happens if I do that. Write 0. Let's add some sort of border just to have a look to the boundaries of the menu items. So border 1 pixel solid red, yeah, just for readability purposes. And then look what happened. If I open the menu, not quite. The menu is still displayed as a sibling element of all the other elements. I don't want it to be displayed in the same dimension. I want it to be displayed on top of everything else. So does anybody remember which CSS property, we already covered that I think a couple of weeks ago, which CSS property enables that idea of adding a new layer on top of everything else? No, not flex. Not flex. I'll give you a hint. Position. Position what? Wrong. Let me show you the list of options. Not like that. Position. Position. I cannot display the list of options. All right, I'll show you. Position absolute, guys. So with position absolute, now look. I mean, it's not perfect. It's clearly not perfect. But you see, now my content on my portfolio is not affected. Yeah. So the content looks correct regardless of whether the menu is visible or hidden, which is good. It's good. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Yes. Yes. There are some sort of exceptions when talking about scrolling and things like that, but to simplify the way position absolute work, yes, it will stay there regardless of what the content is. Anything else, guys? Any questions? Yes, exactly. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. If I remove the right zero, let's see. Look, if I remove it, by default, it's on the left. Why? Well, and why not? Why the text by default is black instead of purple? I mean, don't forget something, guys. Don't forget something. The browser needs some defaults. It takes some assumptions. Yeah, when you write some piece of text in HTML, even if you didn't wrote any single line of CSS, the text has a color. The text is not going to be transparent by default. That would be a bit weird, right? So the same thing applies to position absolute. By default, the elements are displayed on the left. So now, as the last part of this workshop, I would like to style it because obviously, I mean, let's be honest, that's not even usable, right? What the hell is going on here? We cannot even see what's going on the third menu option. Also, don't forget something, guys. Imagine that this is your real device, your real smartphone, yeah? Obviously, I'm zooming the screen a lot, but in reality, my thumb will be half of my screen. So, from a usability point of view, it will be very tricky to click on the right option. So, we need some spacing. Let's prototype some styling using devtools. If you remember, guys, devtools is a fantastic tool to prototype your web application without risking any change. Because remember that as soon as you refresh the page, all the changes that you apply here will be gone. So let's try a few things. First of all, right zero. Yeah, okay, that's good. I want to start displaying the menu on top here, not in the middle of my title. So does anyone know how to display the menu on top of the screen? That's brilliant. Top, zero. Aha. Not too bad. And now I want to expand the menu probably until the end of the page. Yeah, because this is very small here in that corner. I wouldn't be able to select the right option 80% of the time. So how can we make the menu to fit all the available height on the screen? Fantastic. I love that, guys. Height 100%. Look. Looking good, right? Looking good. And now, if the menu is open, I don't want my title that, eventually that will cause me problems, right? If I got the title on top. So let's add some background color. Background color, for instance, yellow. Yeah? You see now the menu is solid on top of my content. Yeah. So, I mean, if being that you really like it, you think that's the most beautiful web application ever created. So, in other words, imagine that you want to persist these changes. Will it be safe now to refresh the page? Will these changes persist into my project? No, not at all. So remember, if you ended up having something decent, remember to copy what you've done back to your VS Code and then paste it. Yeah? So when you do that, now you can safely refresh your web browser. Any questions? Yes. Fantastic. That's what I'm going to do now. Yeah. Fantastic. That's a brilliant. That's a fantastic question. So this is what I'm going to do now. So now I would like, as the final task of this workshop, I would like to add some spacing between my elements, because once again, with my huge thumb, it would be impossible literally to select the skills. And so by accident, I will touch on projects or contact or whatever. So let's add some spacing. Yeah, our menu needs to breathe a bit. So first of all, let's add another class name to our menu, to each item. So let me add another class name and let me call it menu item. Or let me call it item for simplicity reasons. Item, yeah. So now we have 4 items like that. Yeah. So now I can refer to each item and I can add some spacing. So can anyone tell me how to add some spacing inside of each item? Correct, perfect. Padding, for instance, 20 pixels. So this is what happens if we do that. So if we run it again, you saw the difference? Now it looks much better. Look, if you hover, if you click on each individual item, you can see DevTools is highlighting the relevant dimensions, the relevant sub-elements on that box. So what can we do with that? Look, on the right-hand side, if you select the computed option, here, DevTools is telling you some detailed analysis about the different properties on that box. So the padding is the space running inside of the box. The border is that line that establishes the limit of the box, and the margin is the space outside of the box. So just to think about the way it works, imagine that the blue box, the text, this is your bed. Yeah? The padding will be the space between your bed and the walls in your bedroom. Yeah? So the padding is inside of your bedroom. The border will be the walls. And the margin will be the space between your house and your neighbor's home. Yeah? So the margin doesn't belong to you, actually, to be precise. Eh? The margin is the road separating your house and your neighbor's house. Yeah, that's pretty much the idea. At the moment, margin is 0. Margin is 0. Imagine that we are dealing with links. At the moment, we don't have any links, but imagine they are links. Should we use padding or margin? Let me show you a problem. Maybe, or visually speaking, it may sound the same, but it's clearly not the same. Look, if I change item class name item from padding to margin, look, I mean, yeah, visually speaking, could be very similar. The difference is now instead of a padding, we got a margin. It is true that the browser is applying some sort of technique to collapse, you see, the bottom margin of a box is collapsed with the top margin of the next box. Yeah? So there's some sort of weird magic under the hood, but ignoring that detail, visually speaking, it looks the same. However, look at the difference, guys. Imagine that I'm adding a border 1 pixel solid blue, for instance. Can you smell what the problem is? Will it work, guys? Imagine that I got links and I'm touching in here in between. Will it work? Exactly. That's brilliant, Vinay. So the clickable area is determined by the border. So if I add a margin, I'm making everything a bit more complicated. You see? But now, let's changing back from margin to padding. You see? Do you agree that from a usability point of view, now it's much easier to select the right option? I still visually speaking, is pretty much the same. Yeah, I still got plenty of space between my elements. However, the chances to succeed by touching on a button got increased a lot because all the spacing, all the gutter runs inside of my box, of my boxes, not outside. Any questions, guys? Nope. Okay, so a final note from my side. I've seen developers writing this type of CSS many times, and that's horrible. That's horrible. Let me present you a problem. Imagine that you you are you are working on this app. We are all working together, yeah, and some of you did that. And now I'm coming to this application and I'm creating a new component called, I don't know, footer, yeah, because we want to display some sort of copyright, that sort of bullshit. So uh, function footer, and now return so I don't know, the class name, item, copyright, White House, I don't know, whatever. Yeah? Can anyone smell what the problem is gonna be now? Exactly. Look, let's have a look to the footer. Imagine that I never touched the menu. I'm new into this project. That's my first component, footer. Yeah, that's the only thing I know about this product. And then after creating the footer, there is suddenly some padding, some blue border, and then I would say, "What the hell? I never, I haven't done any border or any padding styling. Why the hell my component has this styling?" The reason is, the reason is because we out of coincidence, but this coincidence will happen more often than expected. I'm using a class name item that has been already used by someone else somewhere else. You see the problem, right? So what can we do? Of course, we can rename it. We can rename it to footer if you want, and then if I rename it to footer and I refresh, then the problem is gone. But eventually we are likely to have to clash. Yeah, we're having to have problems with our styles, with our style names. So personally, I think that's a bad strategy unless you definitely want to style globally every element with class item. Unless you really know what you're doing, I believe that's not a good way of coding. So whenever you want to do that, whenever you want to style your menu items, look, you can do that. You see, you can namespace your CSS. How can we read that? The way CSS reads that is, A, please give me all the elements with a class called menu items. Here you go, we found one. And then once you are there on the highlighted piece of code, now please style inside of that menu items component, please style all the elements with another class name item. So now my question is, will my footer be affected by this bunch of styles? No, that's correct, Vinay. No, not anymore. Not anymore, because now I'm name spacing. So I created some sort of sandbox. Yeah, and as you can see, now the menu is okay, but my footer is not affected by these changes. In the long term, guys, I think many projects struggle with the CSS at least as much as with the JavaScript. Yeah? And that sounds a bit aggressive, but based on my experience, many products struggle to scale because of the CSS. So even though that example is a bit simplistic, and you may be thinking that I'm doing a bit of over engineering, in reality, the sooner you start namespacing your styles, the better. That's correct. That's correct. What I'm specifying is a hierarchy of selectors, man. So look at the space. The space is important. You see the space between the two classes? So that means please find all the elements with class item that belong to another element called menu items. That's why the food. Say it again? Yeah, probably our mental health is the limit. No, there is no limit. There is no limit. There is no limit. Anything else, guys? Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for watching. Now, once again, you don't have to decide on now, but please think about whether on Thursday you want to continue working with this workshop. So, what is pending? What is missing here? I would like to animate the menu. I would like to slide it from the right, and then when I close it, to hide it using an animation. Yeah, that's probably the missing part. And as I said, it is slightly more complicated than you may think about. So if you want to talk about how to deal with animations on the menu, please let Esteban or myself let us know on the Slack. If you don't care, we'll do something else. Yeah, but you have the chance to decide what do you want to be. The workshop is available on YouTube, and I'm around to help you if you got any questions, guys. So thank you very much for watching.